Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Virtual College Exploration for all Indiana students. We're so glad you've joined us this evening. This is hosted by the Indiana Association for College Admission Counseling and Strive Scan. Just a few housekeeping announcements before I pass it along to the presenter this evening. You do have the ability to ask questions in the Q&A tonight, so feel free to pose your questions to the presenter at any time. Your camera and microphone are turned off, and you're muted, your video's off, so the panelists can't see you or hear you. Please know that there are many sessions happening, and those can be found at inacac.org. Also, this session is being recorded and will be posted about a week from today at that same website. And all of our sessions are being recorded, so you can find those at inacac.org. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it along to our presenter.
Great. Thank you very much, Andrea. And good evening, everyone. My name is Jackson Strick. I'm an admissions counselor at Ohio State University. I'll go ahead and pull up my presentation for all of you tonight. Okay, so like I said, I'm an admissions counselor at Ohio State University. Indiana is one of my recruitment territories. I'm very familiar with the Indiana area. I was born and raised in a small town south of Chicago, right over state line. So if you're familiar with Crown Point or Lowell, Indiana, Cherryville, Maryville, Dyer, that whole Northwest region, that's where I'm originally from, just right over state line in Illinois. So very familiar with the area. And then my younger brother goes to college at the University of Indianapolis as well. So very familiar with the area. But I'm really excited that you guys are joining us today. Or I should say tonight. It's already getting pretty late, so I definitely appreciate you all taking the time just to join me. Hopefully I can give you some great information. I'll be talking about a lot of different things today. So I'll be talking about specifically with Ohio State, how to apply, when to apply, cost of attendance. Obviously being an out-of-state institution, the cost plays a huge factor, right? And so I'm gonna speak to that a little bit more as well. I'll talk about our academics a little bit and student life, and then you'll also have time to ask any questions you may have. So again, like Andrew had said, if you do have any questions, please utilize the Q&A feature. I'd be happy to answer those live. I also have time at the end for a live Q&A as well. So I'd be happy to take care of those at the end. So first and foremost, Ohio State University is a Big Ten university. And so what that means is we are very research oriented, right? So most Big Ten universities focus a lot on the research. So at Ohio State, we take a lot of pride in not only the quantity of research opportunities that we can provide for our students, but the quality of them as well. So as a first year student, you do have access to all of our research facilities, all of our labs, our technology. You can do research as a first year student with other colleagues of yours and classmates. You can do research with professors and faculty members that you've had. A great rule of thumb is to reach out to your academic advisor that's assigned to you, just to get your foot in the door a little bit more. Ask them what kind of research opportunities they might know about, or if they know any professors or colleagues themselves that are doing research with students. It's a great way just to introduce you a little bit more. We fully believe that exposing students early on when it comes to research can really help with their academic and professional development moving forward. So that's a big reason why we allow first year students to do research on our campus. We do have over 200 majors across all fields, between majors, minors, specializations, certifications. We have over 500 total programs, so a lot you can choose from. I actually ended up getting one of my degrees in behavioral neuroscience, which was a program that I had never heard of until I got to college. And so at Ohio State in particular, it's just really nice that we have so many programs and courses available that will allow you to explore some of the academic interests that you might not realize you even have yet. The last bullet point you see there on the screen are honors and scholars programs. These are programs that are designed for students who are high achieving academically now. So maybe you're taking some honors or advanced courses, or taking some AP courses, and you're doing very well, and you want to continue that level of rigor when you get to college. if that sounds like anything you'd be interested in, then I recommend looking into our Honors Scholars programs a little bit more. It's completely free to apply to. It does have some benefits as well. So financially, it opens up the door for other scholarship opportunities, which is always beneficial when you're considering an out-of-state institution. It opens up the door for other housing options on our campus. So some really great perks here. Again, completely free to apply for. So I definitely encourage you to look into that a little bit more if that's something that sounds interesting at all. So as a college student, it's obviously important that you're learning inside the classroom, right? But it's equally as important that you're learning outside the classroom as well. And at Ohio State, we call this experiential learning. And you can do this in a variety of ways. So some of the ways you see listed on the screen here are study abroad programs, internships, and co-op opportunities. We have opportunities for students to hold leadership positions on campus through student government or through some sort of student organization serving on our executive boards. I mentioned research, we have service learning projects, so a lot of ways to get involved. With study abroad in particular, we are actually one of the few universities in the entire country that do send students to all 7 continents. So if you want to go to Antarctica, you can. We do have connections out there that we can send students there to do research for a little bit. I never want to go there. Like I said, I was born and raised in Chicago, so it's always pretty cold. And I went to college at a smaller school in Michigan, which is even colder. And so I never want to go to Antarctica, but we do have the opportunity to send students there. A big reason why our study abroad program is so successful, and the reason why we can send students almost anywhere in the world, is because we actually have the 2nd largest alumni network in the country. So with over 500,000 living alumni, it's really great that we have not just a domestic reach, but such a strong international reach as well. I also want to highlight the bottom right picture there. So that picture to represent service learning, that picture was taking place at Buckeyethon. Buckeyethon is arguably the biggest event of the year, every single year on our campus. Not only the Ohio State community, but the entire city of Columbus comes together to fundraise money for children fighting cancer. We've raised millions of dollars over the years. It's a super successful event. It's a lot of media attention as well. And it's just a great example of how students can get involved a little bit more within the community through volunteering, working with local nonprofits, fundraising events, charity events, things like that. So just some good examples there. It's because of all those opportunities, it's because of all those programs that I listed before and all the courses that are available, that no student experience is going to be the exact same. And that's true regardless of what university you end up choosing, right? So it doesn't matter where you're from, who you are, what you're studying, every single student at every single university is going to experience college extremely differently, right? For some students, that's great. For me, that was great. I was excited to get out of my hometown and kind of do something new. For other students, that can be very intimidating, right? Being welcomed into an environment that you're not familiar with, maybe you don't know a ton of people or you're moving to a new area. It can be an intimidating and scary experience for a lot of students. We have some programs that are put in place to help with that transition, right? To help bridge that gap from high school to college. It starts with what you see on the screen here, our first year experience program. We call it the FYE program. So our first year experience program takes place during a student's first year, obviously, but it kicks off at the orientation. So our orientation is an overnight orientation. So it is 2 days with 1 overnight stay. You get to stay in the residence halls with some of our current students and some other incoming students as well. You meet your advisor, you pick your class schedule. It's just a great way to welcome you into the community a little more. And that continues on into your welcome week. So when you move in, there's a lot of programming and events that are planned for first year students to meet new people and to be exposed to some of the other opportunities we have on campus through student organizations or through academic organizations. And it's a great and easy way to meet a lot of other first year students who might also be a little bit nervous during that time. And that continues on through our second year transformational experience program, our STEP program. This is a little bit more academically focused and it takes place during their second year or their sophomore year. This is where we bring on a lot of academic advisors and tutors. We do have some resources for students who might be nervous with public speaking. So we have a speech center on our campus. We have a writing center on our campus to help with writing papers and developing thesis statements and things like that. So it's a lot about just exposing you to some of these other academic opportunities, study abroad programs and such and things like that. We have seen great success with these programs as well, and you can see that with our retention rate. So if you're unfamiliar, the retention rate is the percentage of students who go to college their first year and stay at that same institution for their second year and further on. Last year, the national average for retention rate across all universities in the US was about 77 to 78%. And last year, Ohio State was actually at a 94% retention rate. So that's just a great number that I like to throw out at our students, because it just really shows that these programs we have in place, the people that they meet, the area they live in, the resources we have, it's just a great environment, and so many students are extremely comfortable being here, which is one of our top priorities. Obviously, it's important that of course we are bringing a lot of great students into our university, but we want to make sure that it's the right fit for you, right? And that's not true for every single student. It won't be the right fit for every single student. Every student's going to have their own opinions and their own ideas of what a right fit is. And so we have these programs in place just to help with the design to make sure that students do enjoy their time here at Ohio State. So I should talk about where we're located, right? Since we are an out-of-state institution. So we are located in Columbus, Ohio. Columbus is about 2.5 hours away from Indianapolis. So in my opinion, it's a great distance. It's far enough away where you can meet new people and kind of start something new. But at the same time, it's close enough where you can still go home on a weekend pretty easily if you want to, or if you want to visit some friends here and there. So it's just kind of a great balance between the two. Columbus, Ohio, to give you some context and perspective, it is the second largest city in the Midwest behind Chicago, and it is slightly larger than Indianapolis. So it has about 50 to 100,000 more residents living in Columbus than there are living in Indianapolis. Just to give you some context there. It is also one of the youngest cities. So being from the Chicago area, there's obviously a lot of young people living there. But Columbus by far is one of the youngest cities that I've ever been to. So a lot of Ohio State students and recent graduates, they take over the city. They like to stay here because it's just there's a booming job market, and we have so many great connections throughout the area as well. We are just outside of downtown. So our campus is just outside of downtown Columbus. We're about 7 minutes or so in a car, which is great. We're a huge university, right? And so it's nice that we're not in the heart of downtown, because you don't feel totally consumed by that city environment. But at the same time, you can hop in a car with some friends, and in 5 minutes, you're in the city and you can explore. There's a ton of attractions, there's entertainment, there's concerts, there's sporting events. There's a ton of stuff to do in the area, which is really, really nice. Speaking about our size, Ohio State University is quite literally one of the largest universities in the entire country. We are the largest university in the state of Ohio. We are the largest university in the Big Ten Conference, and we are the 4th largest university in the entire country in terms of student population. So lots of students here next to a very large city. So for a lot of students, very rarely will you ever get bored. There's always new neighborhoods to explore, and there's a lot of cool places to visit. So it's a really fun environment for a lot of college students. So we're going to transition to the more logistical side of things. So things like how to apply, when to apply, cost of attendance, things like that. We do have some COVID-19 updates as well, like most universities do. So I just want to make sure that I'm very clear. It's always nice to hear it from the source directly. So I want to make sure I'm very clear with everything and make sure that we're all on the same page here. So first of all, how do you actually apply to the university? So we try to make it as easy as possible. We accept applications through the Common Application. This does include a $60 application fee, so please keep that in mind. You might be eligible for a fee waiver. So if you think that you might be, or you want to learn more about what that eligibility would be like, please reach out to me directly. I will have my contact info at the very end. So please reach out to me directly. Let me know. I'd be happy to work with you individually. We also ask for your official high school transcripts with your senior course schedule. Okay, so that's really important. I assume you're all seniors, might be some juniors as well. For those who are seniors and are joining us, it's very important that you are well aware that your senior schedule is going to be sent to us, okay? And we ask for this because although we won't see your final grades yet, obviously, We like to see what classes you're taking. We want to know that students are still willing to challenge themselves academically through honors courses if they're available, or AP courses if they're available. We want to see students in their senior year taking another science course or taking another math course, or maybe even throwing in a foreign language or things like that. So those are some of the things that we look for, and that's why we ask for that senior class schedule. So big change here. I want to make sure that I'm very clear about this, because each school might be slightly different as far as what their policy is. So please know that Ohio State University for 2021, which means if you are currently a senior in high school, we are test optional, okay? So what this means is, if you do not want to submit your test scores, the ACT or the SAT, you do not have to, and you will not be penalized when it comes to your admissibility into the university. You will not miss out on merit scholarship eligibility. You won't miss out on the opportunity to be admitted into our honors and scholars programs. You won't miss out on competitive majors like engineering, for example. So we are test optional across the board, okay? If you do choose to submit your test scores and you want that to be reviewed as part of your application, our policies then have not changed then, okay? So what that means is we do not super score. So if you want us to look at your test scores, that's fine. We will look at the highest overall score no matter what. So if we have 5 tests on file for you, we will simply look at the highest overall score no matter what, okay? So that's how we're doing that. It's really important to know that on the common application, there is a very specific question that will ask you if you want your test scores to be considered yes or no. Whatever answer you give us when you fill out the common application, that is what we are rolling with moving forward, okay? So if you say, yes, I do want my test scores to be considered, and then you take the ACT, there's an ACT test date coming up, I think, in a week or two, and there's an SAT test date on November 7th, I believe. So let's say you take one of those test dates and you do very bad on it. You cannot call us and say, hey, never mind, I don't want you to look at my test score anymore, because we're going to go with whatever answer you give us when you fill out the common application, okay? So it's really important that you are taking some time to look into that a little bit more, consider your options, see what else you can bring to the table, and then ultimately make the decision that is best for you personally, okay? Hopefully that was clear. I know there's probably some questions for that, but if you have any questions, throw that in the Q&A. I'd be happy to answer those a little bit later on. And then last thing for our application, to make it a complete application, we would be the letter of recommendation. It is optional, so no change here. It has always been optional. It is still optional. You do not have to submit a letter of rec if you do not want to. There's a limit, so students cannot submit more than 2 letters of recommendation. We receive over 55,000 applications each year. So in theory, it's over 100,000 letters of recommendation. And we read through all of them. So we want to make sure that we're limiting it to a certain extent. So students cannot submit more than 2 letters of recommendation, but again, it is completely optional. For what it's worth, a majority of our students do submit letters of rec. So again, you won't be penalized if you don't submit them, but it definitely can help you. It can give us a little bit more insight as to who you are or what you were involved in from someone else's perspective, which is always beneficial for students. And then lastly, just a little side note here. So if you are an international student by any chance, you must also submit proof of English language proficiency. You can do this in a variety of different ways. So please feel free to follow up with me via email or visit the link that you see at the bottom of the screen to get some of that information and to figure out how that would work. So some of our deadlines, another COVID-19 update that you should all be aware of, assuming you're seniors, right? So for seniors who are joining us today, our early action deadline has been pushed back. So it is usually November 1st. You see on the screen now, it is now November 15th, okay? We did this for a few different reasons, but the biggest one is just because with the ACT test date on October 24th and 25th, I believe, and the SAT test date on November 7th, we wanted to make sure that we were giving students at least the option to take the tests. With so many test dates the past 6 months being shut down and canceled, we wanted students to at least have the opportunity to take the exams if they wanted to. So that's a big reason why we pushed the deadline back to November 15th. This deadline is also important for a few different reasons. So you see the second bullet point here, are merit scholarships. If you do not apply early action, so if you do not apply by November 15th, you will not be eligible for any of our merit scholarships, okay? That's huge. Being an out-of-state institution, I know that tuition's increased. I know it's going to be more expensive. And so scholarships are a huge factor in the college search process, right? And so if you miss this deadline, you automatically lose your eligibility for these merit scholarships. So it's really important that you're applying early if you want to, or if you're strongly considering Ohio State as one of your institutions. And then the last bullet point you see there, so some of these programs, engineering, our Honors Scholars Program, our Moral Scholarship Program, which is actually housed in our Office of Diversity and Inclusion. And it's designed for students who are high achieving academically, but also for students who are involved in some sort of diversity-based leadership program of any kind. It's not required that you apply early action for these programs, but it is something that we strongly prefer and we highly recommend if you really want consideration for these programs to apply early action, because it does become significantly more difficult to be admitted into these programs if you miss this deadline. So for full consideration, please do yourself a favor and apply early action if any of those sound interesting to you at all. And then our last deadline is February 1st. So being an out-of-state school, I totally recognize that we're not going to be your number one choice more than likely, right? And that's okay. I went to school out of state myself, so I recognize that piece of it, right? So if Ohio State's more of a backup option or it's just kind of a safety net for you personally, February 1st might be the better deadline for you then. So February 1st is our final deadline. No change here with COVID-19, still February 1st, always has been. So as long as you have a complete application on file by February 1st, you will receive full consideration for admission into the university, although you will miss out on some of the other opportunities that you see there listed above. So speaking about merit scholarships, a couple important things here. These are based on, as you could probably already figure out, academic merit, right? So these are based on things like your GPA in the classes you're taking, class rank if your school provides class rank, test scores if you submit your test scores. So it's all academically focused. If you apply early action, so if you apply by November 15th, you are automatically considered for all merit scholarships, okay? So as long as you apply early action, you have everything in on file by then, you will automatically consider for all of our merit scholarships. You don't have to separately apply for them, okay? Please know that our scholarships are competitive and it's not guaranteed. So it's not like we have, oh, you have to have a 25 on your ACT or you have to have a 3.5 GPA to be considered for this scholarship. And then all of a sudden, if you meet that criteria, you receive the money. That's not how it works here. It is still competitive. And it's not guaranteed. So please keep that in mind, okay? The fourth bullet point you see there, the words that are highlighted in blue are National Buckeye Award. This is a scholarship that is specifically for out-of-state students, and it's designed to help offset some of those out-of-state costs, right? So this is also a merit-based scholarship based on your academic merit, but it is specifically for out-of-state students. So definitely I recommend looking into that a little more if you want to learn more about what that scholarship actually has to offer. So you can learn more about what these scholarships are by visiting the link that you see at the bottom of the screen. So while we're on the topic of the financial side of things, I just want to show you a good snapshot of the rough estimation for our cost of attendance. So the bottom number you see here, it's an average, it's an estimation, it's based on a lot of different things. It will change for a lot of different reasons, but it's a good reference point that you can use moving forward. I do want to point out on the left side of the screen, these indirect costs. So indirect costs are not costs that we will be billing you directly, okay? So as a university, when we're billing you for your tuition and your housing and things like that, we do not bill you for these indirect costs. What we do is we factor these costs into the equation so that way you can budget a little bit more accurately earlier on, because we know as college students, you will have to face these costs head on, right? I was a college student not even 2 years ago. I graduated in 2019, okay? So I know you have to pay for textbooks, you have to pay for all your supplies, you're going to have to pay for transportation, right? So getting to and from your hometown or visiting friends or things like that. Personal expenses. So you're probably going to have a mini fridge in your residence hall, which means you're going to have some sort of groceries of some kind. You're going to be going out with friends on weekends, exploring a city, buying the university gear. So there's just a ton of stuff that's taken into consideration. So what we do is we do some data analysis and put together this number to give you a good estimate, so that way you can budget a little bit more accurately. So that is where we get this estimated total cost of attendance from. It's a big number you see there, right? It's intimidating. Like I said, I went to college, Iowa State myself, so I totally recognize that. We do have a lot of great scholarships that are put in place to help offset some of those costs, but it is a good reference point you can use moving forward when you're comparing University A to University B. So I just wanted to give you all an update as far as where we were at virtually. Being from Illinois and my family still lives there, my sister lives downtown Chicago, I get updates all the time as far as what the state of Illinois is doing. My brother, like I said, goes to school in Indianapolis, so I get updates as far as what the state of Indiana is doing, what other universities are doing. The reality is each high school is different, each state is different, each university is different. So I want to make sure I'm very clear with where Ohio State University is at. I'm not going to speak for the state of Ohio. I'm not going to speak for the rest of the universities because we're all different. So I'm only speaking for Ohio State University when I say this. Ohio State University has canceled all on-campus events, tours, programs, everything through the rest of the semester, okay? For seniors, I recognize how frustrating that is because let's say Ohio State actually is one of your top options. Being out of state, a lot of your decision making goes into physically visiting the campus and getting the tour and speaking to students, right? And you kind of base your decision off of that experience. It's really unfortunate that we cannot host tours right now. We are planning on bringing tours back the first week in February. So that's our goal right now. I don't see that being pushed back either. So that is our goal right now. But the reality is at this point in time, we're not prepared for that. And the biggest reason is because, like I said, we're the largest university in the state of Ohio, one of the largest universities in the entire country, and we live in the second largest city in the Midwest. So we have so many people in the area already. We want to reduce the amount of outside foot traffic coming in to protect all of our students and faculty and staff members. And so that's a big reason why for this decision. So at this point in time, students are not allowed to take tours on campus. We're not hosting anything. And it's really unfortunate, but that's just the reality that we live in, unfortunately. Okay. So much so that my job on campus, my colleagues, we have a pretty important role bringing in the freshman class. I have been working out of you can see my apartment, you can see my TV right there. I've been working out of my apartment since March 18th, I believe. And I will be working out of my apartment through Christmas at least. So believe me when I say that I recognize the frustration. I want to go back to campus. I want to see my colleagues again. I want to be in my office, but we cannot do that right now, okay? So the link that you see at the bottom of the screen, they have some great resources there. They do have a virtual tour, so that definitely can help. We have other virtual sessions and webinars that you can register for free. So I definitely encourage you to look into that a little bit. Even if Ohio State's one of your backup options, or maybe not like your top 3 or 5 choices, look into that a little bit because it's a great way to get some of the resources, get all the information that you need. And that way you at least have a little more knowledge and you can make a more accurate decision to move forward with Ohio State or not. So definitely encourage you to look into that a little bit more if you have the opportunity to do so. So I do want to, before I open up the questions, I do want to keep this on the screen for a little bit. Here's all the contact info. So like I said, I'm the main recruiter for all of Indiana. So if you do have any specific questions, please reach out to me directly. There is my direct Ohio State email, as well as my Ohio State office phone number, which I still have access to through my laptop here. So please feel free to reach out and let me know if you have any questions. I also have the contact info there for our student financial aid office. So if you have any questions about your FAFSA or student loans, things like that, please contact them directly. They'd be happy to assist you in a more efficient manner than I can, that's for sure. And the link that you see at the bottom of the screen here, this is actually the same link on this previous slide that you see on the bottom of the screen. So it's just another reminder, if you want any more information about our virtual tours, we have student panels, we have other webinars, please feel free to utilize that link and utilize the resources we have there, because we definitely want to give you as much information as we can, and we want to make sure that you are as well informed as you possibly can be in a virtual setting, right? So with all that being said, I'm making sure I'm keeping tabs on time here, so I'm not going crazy over or anything. I know we have a small group, it's totally okay. Only a few students in here. I'm pulling up the Q&A right now. I do not see any questions. That's okay. I'm going to take that as either since it's a small group and we're kind of quiet, or that I answer every single question already, which is always a flattering compliment that I like to give myself. So I'm going to hang tight for a few minutes. All right. So if you have any questions you want to throw in the Q&A, please take the time to do so. I'd be happy to answer those live before I turn it back over to Andrea and we kind of close things out. So please take some time, think about it, throw some questions in if you have any. I'd be happy to assist you. So I'll hang tight for a minute while you kind of look into that a little bit more. And if we don't have any questions, that's totally okay as well. I just want to make sure that I'm giving some students the opportunity to type things up because, of course, you can't unmute yourself or anything. So typing questions out might take a little bit longer. So just want to make sure I'm giving students an extra minute or two here to type out some questions if you have any. Okay, it doesn't look like we have any questions coming in. So before I turn it back over to Andrea, I just want to say one last thing. Like I said, I went to college just under 2 years ago. And so being a recent college student, if I have one piece of advice, I recommend keeping all options open, right? So taking a step back from Ohio State for a second, just being a college student, keep all of your options open. Apply to a few different universities, see what programs are out there, have some backup options. You never know what kind of opportunities might come your way. And you don't want to necessarily rule anything out for any particular reason. So I recommend keeping options open, especially in these unprecedented times with COVID-19. But ultimately, you need to choose a school that's the best for you, okay? Of course, I want that to be Ohio State, but the reality is it might not be for all of you, and that's totally okay as well. Our biggest goal is to make sure that students are going to the college that they want to go to, right? They're going to the college that they prefer to be at and that they feel comfortable at, and they like the resources there, they like the people there, they like the programs that are available. Of course, we believe that Ohio State can offer all that for students, but ultimately it's going to come down to what you're comfortable with. And for some students, maybe going out of state isn't comfortable, and that's okay as well. So I definitely encourage you just to keep all of your options open and then ultimately decide the university that you feel is the best fit for you personally to put you in the best position possible to be successful. So that would be my piece of advice. With that being said, again, I don't see any questions coming in the Q&A. So thank you all very much for joining. I really appreciate it. I'm going to turn it back over to Andrea just to close things out. But thank you all so much. And please feel free to follow up with me if you have any other questions. So Andrea, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Awesome. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this evening. There will be a quick survey that will pop up. It's only 4 questions, and we would seriously appreciate your feedback. Again, just another reminder that inacac.org, you will find the registration information to sign up for additional sessions. And then this recording, along with all others, are also available at inacac.org. Again, thanks so much for joining, and we hope you have an awesome night.